What's going on, everyone? I hope you are all doing well today. Today's video is going to be an introduction to SEO, and we're going to go right to the basics of it so that you can learn how to leverage SEO in your own business, on your own website, and harness all the power that can come from SEO, like traffic, leads, sales, all organically without having to pay for that traffic. Now, for those who don't know, SEO is an acronym. It stands for Search Engine Optimization. And basically, it is the process of building the pages, the posts on your website in a way that gets them ranking on search engines like Google. Now, the easiest way I can think to structure this video for you to understand the best is to propose the following 5 questions that we're going to cover throughout the rest of this video. Starting with question number 1 is, are your expectations realistic? Now, let's use an analogy for this that has nothing to do with websites or your business. So say you're trying to learn a language, right? It can be anything. Say you're trying to learn Spanish, say you're trying to learn Mandarin, and you download the Duolingo app. It would be crazy to think that you could download that app, try and learn a language for a week, fly to a country where that language is spoken, and just immerse yourself right in and speak the language no problem and have fluent conversations, right? That's just not gonna happen. You're gonna need to practice. You're gonna really need to immerse yourself with the language. And then, 3-6 months down the line, you might be at the point where you can walk into a restaurant or a bar or whatever it is and have a fluent conversation. So now let's shift this back to SEO. If you have a brand new website or, a site that's been around for a while but has never had a focus on SEO, it's crazy to think that you're going to go to the new country, which is page 1 or page 2 of Google, and occupy that real estate and immerse yourself on those pages. The sites that are on page 1 are there for a reason. Either they're very well optimized, or the sites are putting a lot of time and effort into their SEO. So think of it that way. Now, that analogy can be helpful, but if you're like me and you're more of a visual learner, let's hop behind the screen and I'll show you what that looks like in action. So yeah, instead of learning a language, right, let's pretend you are an attorney. You're starting your practice in Vancouver and you want to rank for a term like Vancouver lawyer and reap all the benefits that being on page 1 for a term like this can bring from traffic and leads and potentially sales. So if we quickly analyze this page, right, first off, we're going to see that it's very commercial and transactional intent-driven keywords. So there's going to be a lot of ads for it first off. So before we even start talking about organic results, you're going to be up against people paying to be on the first page right at the top of the fold here. As we scroll down, we can see that there are actually organic results from a law firm ranking above the map pack. Most of the time, you actually are going to see the opposite. The map pack will show before any organic results, but in this case, it looks like this Clark Wilson site is pretty well optimized. So let's use them as an example. When we take a peek behind the curtain here, we can see that they have an authority score of 32 for their site. Now, this score isn't the be-all, end-all. It is just a proprietary scoring system for the particular tool that I use, which is SEMrush. There's other SEO tools out there like Ahrefs that are going to give different scores. But for the sake of this video, they have a good authority score at 32. And basically, just to quickly sum up why this matters, the higher your score, the more keywords you're going to rank for. And of those keywords you're ranking for, the higher positions you will have, right? So they've got a good score of 32. Moving on to their search traffic, we can see that they get about 4,800 organic search visitors every month that they're not paying for from almost 10,000 different keywords that the site ranks for. And here you can see the 2-year chart on that. Been pretty consistent, right, between 6,000, 4,000. But if we look at the all-time chart, we can see that this has been steady growth over about 10 years now, right? So February 2012 to current day, which is in February 2023. So you can tell based on a couple factors here, the volume of keywords this site ranks for, the authority they have, right, based on, the backlink profile that they've built, that this is a site that is fully immersed. Just to kind of go back to that language example again, right? These guys are fluent in search engine optimization. They belong on the first page. And you have to ask yourself this question as a new website or, a business that's just starting to focus on SEO is, do you think it's realistic that you're going to compete with this site or whatever the comparable site in your industry is for first page rankings on difficult to target transactional commercial driven keywords, right? The answer is there's not a chance in hell, at least in the short term. And to use a bit of a cliche saying, SEO 100% is a marathon. It's not a sprint. That's not to say that you won't ever compete with a profile of a website that looks like this, but it's going to take time, right? I just showed you that this website, for example, is 10 years in the making. And if we look at the search traffic just a little bit more in depth, and we go look at some of the pages that are on this website, you can see the sheer number of different pages, whether it's service pages or blog post pages that are informational, that bring this website traffic, right? And if you've never focused on SEO, never written a blog post, you're just not going to have this volume of pages that are working for your website and making it the authority in your industry, right? Publishing high quality content, getting high quality links. This stuff all happens over time. So that's question one you need to ask yourself is, are your expectations realistic? If you think you're going to be on the first page of Google for competitive terms, within a week, 2 weeks, even a month to 3 months of starting, you need to temper those and just set realistic expectations for your SEO campaign. Okay, and moving on to the second question that you're going to need to ask yourself is, can search engines even find you? Now, to keep this really simple, basically how these search engines work, they're going to release a bunch of bots, right, on a few sites, and these bots are going to crawl all over the web and jump from link to link to link to find different pages to add to their index, right? So you might think that when you're Googling something, that the results are all live, but they're not. Basically, all this information gets crawled at one point in time and then stored in Google's database, otherwise known as their index. So as a new site, or a site that's never focused on SEO in the past, chances are you may not have submitted a sitemap to Google, or you likely don't have any links from other sites to your own. And if this is the case, then you may not even be in the index. But don't just take that from me. I'm going to show you what Google itself has to say on this. So here we are on a support forum page from google.com itself, right? So if we scroll down to the very bottom here, you can see here that it says explicitly Google needs to be able to find your pages in order to index them, right? And like I said, one of the ways that they do that is by discovering new sites from existing sites, right? And so a newer site, or even an older site that's never had the SEO focus, likely isn't going to be discovered from an existing site. So in order to do that, you would want to submit your sitemap. Some website building platforms will do this for you, others will not. So if you're finding that you're not ranking, even though you feel maybe you should, chances are Google can't find you. So ask yourself this question, can they find you? And an easy way of answering this for yourself is with what's called a Google search operator. And there's actually a little spot on that on this page as well. You can see here, one of the examples is site/example.com. So let's take a look at that. So I'm just going to use the same website I used in question one here. So we're going to take the search operator site : and then your website URL, in this case, the example, cwilson.com. So when we enter this into Google, basically every single result is going to be from this website that Google has in their index. And you could see it says there's about 4,130 results. Now this is going to be the home page, obviously, a news page, their practice pages, obviously more blog post, category pages, it looks like. And there's going to be multiple pages, obviously, based on 4,000 results. So when you do the search operator, we can tell that this website is obviously in Google's index. And now how this applies to yours, right, is when you plug this same search operator, except subtract C. Wilson and put in your own. Depending on the results displayed, you're going to find out real quick whether you're in Google's index or not. The third question you need to ask yourself is, are the keywords that you're targeting appropriate for your website and where you're currently at? And the best example I have for you for this is, let's say you are an e-commerce brand and you want to sell running shoes. Well, to think that you're going to be competing for a term like running shoes, when you have competitors like Nike or Adidas ranking for those keywords, to think that, as a local new startup website trying to sell shoes, that you're going to be competing for a keyword like running shoes is just insane. It's not going to happen, right? So again, let's get behind the screen here and look at this a little bit more in depth. All right, so here's some stats on a key term like running shoes. We can see that the volume is very high, about 165,000 searches on average every month for this term. It's got transactional intent, which is what you would want if you were selling shoes, right? But also we have to keep in mind how difficult it is to rank for this keyword. And this tool is saying it's very hard, right? 80%. So again, as a site that's new, that's never done SEO, you're not going to compete for this at all, right? You can look at who the top 10 results are right now, and there's Runner's World, there's Nike, there's Dick's Sporting Goods, Nordstrom, all of these massive brands with massive websites and big marketing teams. And just to think that you're going to compete on this term, it's just you have to get that out of your head because there's no chance in hell that it's going to happen, right? And moving away from an e-commerce example, kind of more back into, say, a local services example, let's go back to our Vancouver lawyer keyword. And we can see on this as well that it's not necessarily going to be easy for a newer site to rank for this. We already saw how strong the one lawyer site we reviewed for this term was. And when we analyze some of the law firms that are on the first page of the search engine result page, obviously, right, we see them. Their ranking is a 58 here. The next law office is a 21. The next one after that is a 35. So there's going to be more established sites competing, obviously, for these high transactional value keywords, right? So I'm not saying that your site would never rank for a keyword like Vancouver lawyer or like running shoe, but we're talking in the short term as an intro to SEO, right? You're just starting this out. Choose and target keywords that you're actually going to have a chance to rank for. And so the best ones to go after in this are what's called long tail keywords. And let me show you what I mean by that, how we could find, some long tail keywords, or maybe in a case like this, some service specific keywords that might not be as competitive. So obviously SEMrush is the tool I'm using. It's great for finding keywords. This is much easier if you have a tool like this or similar. So from this page, what I can do is view all keyword variations of Vancouver lawyer. So I'm going to do that. We'll click on this. And I want to get rid of some of these more difficult to rank for keywords. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter the keyword difficulty, right? So I'm going to click on this and I'm just going to say, let's see keywords that are between 0 and 20 in terms of keyword difficulty. And right away, we have a few ideas in terms of what we can specialize in or keywords that we want to target with specific pages of our website. For example, entertainment lawyer Vancouver has roughly 140 searches every month, and the keyword difficulty is a 7. So let's say you're a lawyer and you offer this particular practice of law, you have a much better chance of ranking a dedicated landing page on your site targeting this keyword than you do going after a more broad and generic term like Vancouver lawyer. Same deal as US immigration lawyer, right? 140, KD is a 12. This particular keyword is 4 individual words in length. So that's a long tail keyword that we could target. And as you go down this list, you can see just how specific some of these are, right? Family lawyer in North Vancouver, wrongful dismissal lawyer. So if you were to build out multiple pages on your website, with each of them targeting a specific practice area and targeting the right keywords, you can see how rather than trying to go after a term like Vancouver lawyer, each page can go after these less difficult to rank for terms. And that's services, right? Let's just go back to the e-commerce example for a second. So if we go and do the same thing in here, again, you're never going to really rank for running shoes. But if we go in, we filter, let's go back and just do 20 on this. You'll see that a few of the options that kind of come through are going to be some category keyword, right? So like tan running shoes, for example, beach running shoes. So when it comes to e-commerce, whether it's running shoes, t-shirts, skin creams, whatever it is, you do stand a better chance of ranking category pages than you would, say, product pages. But this is a whole strategy, right? Like keyword research for e-commerce, for local service. This could be an entire video on its own. So we might get to that later down the road. But for now, just remember, you want to be targeting keywords that you actually have a chance of ranking for. So the longer tail, the better. And of course, you want to try and target as low difficulty as possible, especially if you don't have much of a backlink profile behind your site with a high authority score. All right, moving on to the fourth question that you're going to need to ask yourself is your website technically sound? Now, there are a ton of moving parts with technical SEO, but just to keep it really simple, what you're going to want to ensure is that your website loads fast, it's friendly and usable on mobile, and there's a good architecture and kind of hierarchy to the site that makes it easy for search engines to crawl all of your pages. So again, let's jump behind the screen and I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, just to highlight how important certain aspects of technical SEO are, I'm just going to start off by showing you some statistics. So these are search statistics from 2021. So even though this data may be slightly different, you get the idea, the impression. If anything, the stats I'm about to show you are probably greater now than they were then, right? So I'm going to highlight point 9 here. In 2021, 56% of web traffic took place on mobile phones. And like I said, you can imagine that this number is probably growing more and more every year. Just ask yourself, how many searches do you do while you're out and about on your phone versus when you're at home sitting down on the computer, right? So because of this, you need to make sure that your website is mobile friendly and just optimized for mobile devices, right? Because if your site isn't mobile friendly, well, you're essentially telling almost 2/3 of visitors or searchers on the web that your site is not for them. So yeah, mobile friendliness, super important. Moving on, I'm going to show you some stats on load time. So just first 5 seconds of a page load time have the highest impact on conversion rates. Website conversion rates drop by 4.42% with each additional second of load time. 70% of consumers admit that page speed impacts their willingness to buy. Website conversion rates drop by an average of 2.11% with each additional second of load time. You get the point, right? Site speed is critical. It's a direct ranking factor on Google. A faster loading website is going to rank better than a slower loading website. And again, just think in your own scrolling, your own life. How often are you going to wait for a site to load, right? Chances are you'll give it 2 or 3 seconds. And if it doesn't, you're going to click that little X and you're going to keep on with your scrolling. So don't underestimate how important these two technical factors of SEO are when we're talking about mobile friendliness and site speed. Like I said, they're direct ranking factors on Google. They crawl this, they know. Trust me, they know. So again, what can you do? There's a couple ways to test for mobile friendliness. One of them is a direct Google tool. So just Google this mobile friendly test. You'll be given this, enter your URL, test it. You'll be given a check, you'll be given an X. But even more importantly than that, whether you pass or fail the test, is be the own worst critic of your website, right? What do I mean by that? Just scroll your website, see how much you enjoy using it, how much you hate using it on mobile, and start from there, right? Like you'll know if your site is mobile friendly or not. And then when you combine that with some of the recommendations a tool like this can provide, you're going to be set. And then moving on to page speed, there's a couple tools for this. You can use GTmetrix. You can also Google page speed insights. I'll just do that with you here. So Google page speed insight, that's going to be this first result. And then this is a test right from Google itself as well. You're going to be given a ton of options in terms of how you can reduce the size of your pages and get them loading faster. One of the biggest culprits on this is going to be the size of your images. So a rule of thumb that I like to go by is try to keep all my images below 100 kilobytes in size. But aside from images, these two tools are going to give you a ton of recommendations as well. Now, I have the Nike website open here to kind of illustrate the point that I also was talking about in terms of like crawlability and the hierarchy of a site. So just imagine how many pages, the sheer volume of them exists on a site like Nike, right? From category pages to product pages, so on and so on. There's a ton, right? And think about how frustrating that would be if they weren't well thought out and organized in an easy to find way. As a user, you would be fed up, you would leave the site. And then as a search engine, you just wouldn't be able to discover a ton of pages on the site, right? So obviously a clean navigation fixes all of this. And you can see just how easy it is to navigate the volume of products and categories on the site, right? If we look on Nike's mega menu, when we hover over men, they have their featured, their shoes, clothing. You can shop by sport. And let's just go down shoes for a second, right? They have lifestyle, Jordan. So if you're following along, the hierarchy of this is men's shoes, men's lifestyle shoes, right? And that's super easy for women as well. We've got women's shoes, women's lifestyle shoes. So let's go in. We can click into lifestyle, right? And then when we're in here, not only do we see men's lifestyle shoes, but now we can also further find what we're looking for based on the sidebars. So if I wanted to look for size 8 men's lifestyle shoes, right, I can do that. If I wanted to filter by color, I can do that, right? So now we're seeing men's green lifestyle shoes. And you can see just how easy and intuitive this is for me as a user, but as well, search engines are coming through this. And because everything is within a couple clicks of, from the header menu, everything's easy to find. It's easy for users to use. So the chances of having all your pages get ranked and get found goes up. Now, obviously, in your own site, you're probably not going to have the sheer volume of pages that a site like Nike will, but just take that advice and implement it into your own, right? Like make sure none of your pages are orphaned. Make sure they're not too far away from being found from the home page. The rule of thumb is 3 to 4 clicks away is how far any page on your site should be from the home page. The fifth and final question that you're going to need to ask yourself is your website worthy of rankings? This is kind of a combination of all the questions, but it also kind of plays into some off-page factors, off-page SEO that can include, building links from other websites to yours, the citations that you've built on directories. This is especially important for local businesses, right? Things like having your Google business listing optimized and set up. And like I said, it kind of ties in with the rest of the questions, right? From the expectations you have of your SEO campaign, the keywords you're targeting, the technical health of your site, and so on. So let's go back one last time and use this lawyer site that we found at the beginning of the video. Right off the bat, we can see that they've got their Google business listing set up and optimized. As we scroll down, they've got social profiles set up and likely sending links to their website as well from Facebook, from LinkedIn, from Twitter. They've got citations on industry relevant directories, it looks like, from bestlawyers.com, NALP Canada, the CDM.ca, DNB, and so on. So just off this one page alone from Googling their name, we can see that there's enough signals here that Google can pick up on and see that not only is this a legitimate business, but they're going to be worthy of ranking on Google, right? Because you have to think from Google's perspective, that it's their customers and their searchers, and they want to satisfy the search intent of people using Google. So if your site is one that's worthy of those rankings, it has all these trust factors, all these trust signals, right? Like citations and links, then the chances of Google identifying your website and saying, okay, this is a legitimate business, let's display it on the top of our search engine result page, goes right up. Right. And speaking of backlinks, let's take a look at what makes the trust signals even stronger. So as we scroll through this, just look at the volume and the strength of some of the websites that this website has built links from, right? We've got links from Wikipedia, from Indeed, Investopedia, Mac Rumors, that's a strong website, the Government of BC, the Globe and Mail. Just got such an incredibly strong backlink profile. Got a ton of pages. It's on a bunch of citations. Like everything about this website screams legitimate business, worthy of ranking. So again, look at your own website. Be your own worst critic. If your site doesn't have signals like this, do you really think you're worthy of ranking, right? And as a new site, the answer in most cases is going to be no, at least in the first couple months of starting an SEO campaign, right? You just aren't going to have the number of quality links and quality pieces of content or pages on your site that it takes for Google to identify you, as a website that's worthy of being displayed to Google searchers. And I just really do want to emphasize the quality piece again, because, you could go buy, 100, 500 links on Fiverr, but these aren't going to move the needle for you because they're not going to be, again, quality. You want quality links that are industry specific, and especially on a local level, local links help a ton as well. And again, these things take time. So that's the beauty of SEO, is that, it might take a couple of months to get there, but when you finally do, your website is going to be an asset to your business that's just going to continue to bring in visitors and leads that, enter your sales funnels and could become customers down the road. Okay, so that was an intro to SEO. I hope that you learned something from this video and you can take this away and apply it to your own business. Because again, when you start leveraging the power of search engine optimization within your own site, just imagine how much your business could benefit from 500, 1,000, 2,000 visitors coming to your website every month organically without having to pay for that traffic. This video is just going to be the first in a series of videos that I'll be putting out on SEO and training. Because again, I know how powerful this can be for your business, and I want to see you succeed and grow your websites and your presence online. So I mentioned a bit earlier that, keyword research could be its entire own video. That might be the next video that I do, an intro to keyword research. So when that's ready, if it's out, it's going to be somewhere on the screen here. But yeah, besides that, if you have any questions, definitely do feel free to leave them in a comment down below, and I'll do my best to get to all of them. If this video was helpful to you and you stuck around to the end, leaving a like on this video as well would be super helpful. Besides that, I wish you well, I wish you high rankings, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.